If you could only watch one video out of my entire YouTube channel, this is the video that I'd want you to watch. In this video, we are going to teach you my most profitable trading strategy. Yes, the same strategy that I used just last week to be able to make over $10,000 in just 4 trading days. If you are a trader that feels like you constantly are having your account slip away, you win $200 one day and then lose $500 the next day. You win $1,000 day one, but then lose $2,000 day two, and you see your account slowly bleeding out, we are going to put an end to that right now. Let's talk about great entries, great exits, and actually having a discipline to follow your stop loss. So before we dive into this live trade, showing you some massive gains that I was able to make this week and breaking down each trade, make sure you guys smash that thumbs on up and subscribe. Also, leave in the comments below, will you be using this strategy? And just give me some feedback. I would love to hear from you guys because I want to make these videos tailored for you. Other than that, enjoy the video and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Meta goes all the way up towards around, I would say like 319 or so, or maybe 318.75. We start looking for some possible put contracts. Let's go to a little bit of a larger time frame here. 5-minute time frame. Where are we at? 5-minute time frame. Trying to see where is that perfect top. 318.90. Guys, look at this downtrend from yesterday into today. 318.90. Start looking for some put contracts. Guys, I'm actually going to look for put contracts as we come on up towards this 390-ish mark. And I might hold these if they pay out well. If they're doing well, I might just hold these. Top resistance, top resistance, top resistance, top resistance. Coming on up towards 319. I think that could be a great area where we could start finding a reversal. I see a nice trend line that's been holding over the last few days. Guys, I'm going to start getting involved over on this play here. So I'm going to start getting involved over on this play as we, again, get that nice little pop on up. Start making some nice money. So I am in right now over on Meta, and I want to see if we can hit this area and start getting a nice little drop back on down. So Meta, I am in on at this moment. Dek, we are in playing this trend line essentially. That's what I want to look for. In playing the trend line. We got up towards 318.79. 318.79. Touching this area. Looking for this nice big pullback, looking for this nice big drop. And hey, if we could be able to make, $2,000-$3,000 just off this today, I'll be more than happy with that. But if you're saying, Dek, why'd you jump in over on Meta? It really, again, just comes on down to I'm taking a look at a 5-minute time frame over the past few days now. I could see that we've touched, looking for this one to come up and be around a possible touch. Now let's get a big reversal back on down. I also do have an expiration date all the way to August 11th if for some reason I wanted to be able to continue to hold this. But Meta, we got our entries as close as we could up towards around that 318, 75-ish mark. That was as close as we possibly could. If we can drop all the way back on down underneath 318, we could be able to make a lot of money on this play, guys. We could be able to make a lot of money on this play if we could drop back down underneath 318 and start going back on down to like 317.50. Guys, look at this. We're up $1,500, $1,800 right now. Guys, up $1,800 at this moment. What do you guys think? Hey, Dek, keep holding. You got a lot more to go, kid. Or, hey, take your profits right now. You're up $1,800, $1,900. Be a happy camper and walk away with some money on the day. We're up $1,800 on this profit right now. Let's see. We got a nice reversal area. We got a lot of room to be able to drop right now. The SPY is obviously getting weaker at this time. $1,900, $2,000 in profit. Right now, the SPY is still, again, getting very, very weak right here. And with the SPY getting weak, I really like that. $2,300 in profit, guys. Still getting weaker here. Let's see if we get this nice reversal. If the SPY can really fade, I think we could get this nice drop. So, guys, $2,400 in profit. Guys, SPY, let's go, Meta! Let's go, Meta! Meta, get this big red candle. Currently up $2,200 in profit right now. Guys, $2,200 in profit. Now let's see it, guys. Let's keep on dropping. $2,500 in profit. $2,500 in profit right now. Let's see this nice drop. Let's see it go even lower. Come all the way back on down to 317.50. $2,100 at this moment. I think I'm just gonna take my profits. Oh baby, $3,000. Never mind. Forget that. I never even said that. Let's see this one keep on dropping. $3,200 at this moment. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. 3,200. Let's go all the way down to low 317s if we can. I got my finger on the trigger to sell if I need to. Did I say I was going to take profits? Forget that. Forget it. Guys, let's go. I want to see a 317 drop $3,500. $3,500 right now. Let's go all the way. Let's go, man. $4,000. $4,000. 317. Let's go. 317 Kraken. $5,000, baby. $5,000 right now. Let's see if we can keep on going lower. Come on, keep going lower here. Let's go. $5,000. We're breaking it. Let's go even lower. Big red candle here. Guys, $5,000 right now. $5,000. Can we crack this? Can we keep going lower? Guys, we're going lower. We're going, might go $6,000 here. Let's go. If we crack 316.50, we're going $6,000. Big red candle so far. $5,000 in profit at this moment, traders. If we crack 316.50, we're going to be killing it. Killing it at this moment. Getting a little bit of a pop back on up. Finger on the trigger. I actually might lock out my gains here. Guys, I'm going to look to sell this here. I'm going to look to sell this right here. Ah! $5,070 in profit. When we take a look at trend lines, this is exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of finding a stock that either has a very strong uptrend or a downtrend. And when we break that area, it's going to show us where a reversal is going to happen. So if I'm taking a look over on SGY, I can see that we have a beautiful uptrend. And once that uptrend goes from bullishness to bearishness, we are going to be seeing a change in that stock's direction. We will see the stock go from up to down, because really it all comes down to one big psychological move. When I draw this trend line, I say to myself, as long as we stay above this trend line, I'm good to hold. But the moment that this trend line cracks, it's time for me to get on out. Now, not only do I think that, but that's what everyone else thinks. So really, the magic secret here is let me make sure that I have the same trend line as everyone else. Because if you are just drawing random trend lines, you are going to say, oh, time for me to get out. What the heck? Why is it still moving on up? Because you have your trend line incorrectly. So you must be able to say to yourself, hey, where does everyone else have their trend line? Because once they see the stock cracking this area, they're going to get out, which leads to more people getting out, which leads to me getting out, which means it leads towards the stock completely reversing. So that is what I want you guys to be able to understand about trend lines here. So when I take a look over on different charts, we can see many different trend lines. Let's say we're looking at Meta right now. Meta obviously has had a big, huge, beautiful trend line on its daily chart. When the stock eventually probably comes back down towards 300 and cracks 300, we are probably going to see a massive sell-off. Let's turn off these indicators here, and you guys will probably be able to realize that if we start cracking this trend line and we go back down to 300, there's probably going to be a super large sell-off, because Meta has been doing what? Meta has been climbing for the past 9 months straight. So there's a great opportunity when this huge trend line cracks, we will see a huge pullback. But as a day trader, what I'm always looking at is I'm looking for usually the past 1 to 2 days. So for instance, today I'm taking a look over on Meta. When you're in a 1 minute time frame, it is going to be the weakest of trend lines. When you're in a 2 minute time frame, it is going to be the second weakest of trend lines. 5 minute, so on, so forth, until you get all the way up towards, let's say, monthly. If you see, let's say, a monthly trend line, when you break this trend line, it's going to have the most dramatic effect. So for instance, we're taking a look at a daily trend line here. When you crack the daily trend line, you're probably going to go from 307 all the way back on down towards 280, 290. It's going to be a very big drop. And the reason why is because it's a trend line every single person can see. But some people are going to say, hey, you know what, Dek? I'm actually just going to instead look for a 1 minute time frame. A 1 minute time frame is a little bit harder to use because not every single person is going to be using this 1 minute time frame or going to be able to see the same trend you see in a 1 minute time frame. So honestly, the best thing to do when looking to be able to trade these options or these blue chips is try to take more of a step back and probably stick to with at least a 3 minute time frame or at least like a 5 minute time frame. And this is just going to give us a little bit of better direction on which way the stock is going to be heading. So for instance, if I'm taking a look over on Meta here, what I'm going to be doing is when I see that Meta is moving itself on up, all I'm going to do is I'm going to connect all the highest points usually. I always start off with this. I always start off with the upper shadows, the upper shadows, the upper shadows, and I try to connect the upper shadows that make sense on this day. So like some people might say, hey, Dek, why don't you connect this upper shadow with this upper shadow and this upper shadow and this upper shadow? Because right now the stock is all the way up here. So this wouldn't help us whatsoever at all. It would be great maybe at this specific moment, right? But when it's all the way, when the stock is already way above the trend line, we got to be looking for trend lines at what's going to be next, right? A trend line down here is not going to help us when the stock's all the way up here. We have to be asking ourselves, what is next and how are we going to be able to profit? So what I say to myself is, all right, let me start a trend line at this area. Here is the top upper shadow. And I saw that it was right around 9:55, 10 o'clock that Meta was moving itself on up. So remember, putting a trend line here doesn't make any sense for us. That's not going to give us any sort of next resistance line. So I connected this upper shadow to its pre-market upper shadow, and I just kept drawing it across the board. And what was I able to do on this? Since I connected this shadow to this shadow, now as we moved ourselves on up, I'm able to say to myself, hey, right around this 318.80 mark is going to be right around the high. So what did we do? We jumped in at 318.70s. And then we had this massive pullback, this massive drop, and we saw the stock get very weak. All right, absolutely beautiful. And that's what I was able to do. Now on this next one, Dek, we have had so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 45 minutes of green, and you were able to figure out the only red candle. How the heck were you able to do that? Well, I'm asking myself, what makes sense on where is the next trend line going to be? So if we did this a little bit backwards, I'm connecting this upper shadow to this upper shadow, and I'm really just saying to myself, hey, this would be a nice solid trend. We have a nice solid downtrend, and there will be a adjustment period. There will be a practice that will need to happen. But a lot of times I'm connecting what makes sense next. So let's actually just do right now. What makes sense next? Is there any sort of old spiking highs? And remember, when you have a trend line, you usually need 2 points. We usually need this. You can't just have a trend line where we have 1 point on up and then the stock is coming on up here because we don't know what to connect it with. We always need one spike on up, another spike, and then we can at least connect the dots and we can be able to figure out where that trend is going to be at. I don't see anything that is anything that we can connect. We have the highest point. We always start at the highest point and we try to figure out where is this resistance line going to be at next. So what do you think the solution is? The solution would be, let's go into a larger time frame. Let's go back into a 10-minute time frame. Is there anything that I can connect at this point? There probably is. I can connect this top now. Let's connect this top to these tops, right? Because that would make sense if I connect this old top upper shadow and I go across the board and I connect these two tops, which is the next tallest point, and I go across the board here now. Now this is a brand new resistance line. And this is telling me, hey, we have been on a nice downtrend. This would be the next area that other traders would say to themselves, oh, this makes sense. We had an old spiking high all the way up to 330. Then it came back on up and it spiked all the way up towards around 325. And now if it does start spiking its way back on up, it's going to come back on up towards around 323. So that 323.30-ish mark would kind of be our next area that we'd want to be looking at. So, after, let's say we run and we go all the way above that 330 mark, we may want to take another step back. And yes, at some point, we might say to ourselves, hey, there's nothing else back here. We're all the way up at, record highs. If we're all the way up at record highs, then there is just no trend line at this time. There's no trend line. So instead, what you would want to do is just do straight flat resistance lines. Okay, there's resistance right here at 325.60. And then there's resistance all the way up towards around that 330-ish mark. But as of now, I would definitely say our next trend would be where? Connect this old high to this old top, to right here, this top, 323-ish. That's where we want to be looking for next. So 323.40 would be my next possible put contract if I wanted to continue to trade. It really comes on down to the pure fact, all we're trying to do is look at where is everyone else going to sell. Because stocks don't just move like the wind, right? Some people think that it's just like, oh, stocks go up and down. But why do stocks go up and down? Because people buy them and people sell them. If enough people buy at the same area, you get bounce plays. If enough people sell at the same area, you get reversals. So the next area, that the psychological area that traders and investment funds and hedge funds and analytics is going to say, hey, let's go ahead and look for a reversal, is going to be at these old spiking highs, and then we could go ahead and take a little bit of a step back. So would I jump in right now on a put contract? The answer would be no. I would wait until it comes up towards that 323 mark. But that's how I have such a high win rate, is I'm just constantly doing that. So test yourself. Over lunch hours today, what should you do? Go to AMD. Try to figure out, where's the trend if there is one. Go over to Tesla. Try to figure out, is there a trend? Is there one? I see a trend on Tesla. I didn't see one on AMD. But would you guys say, connect this top to this top to this top to this top to this top? Maybe go across the board right here. Wouldn't that be a nice trend line? Look for a nice little reversal area. See where it touches and starts bouncing back on down from there. I think that could, be very solid. Take a look over on CVNA right here. CVNA, do the opposite. Connect this bottom to this bottom to this bottom. Traders, wouldn't that be the current trend right here? So, what we have here is nice uptrend, top resistance going across the board. There's our resistance line. We have more buyers and sellers, breakthrough resistance, CVNA getting a nice little breakout right here. So we're getting these nice little spikes, nice little pops, nice little moves. So it doesn't always come on down to do the upper shadow or do the body of the candle. It comes down to what makes the most sense. What makes the most sense, and that's how we want to be able to trade. So when we're taking a look over on all these plays, it's all about just trying to figure out what makes the most sense. How are other traders going to perceive this chart? Okay, I see this upper shadow. I see this upper shadow. Let me go across the board. Hey, this is probably going to make the most sense somewhere right around that 2320 mark. The larger the time frame, the stronger they're going to be. If you're in a 1 minute time frame right now and you're saying, oh, Decky, I see a great little trend line at this moment. This is a nice strong downtrend, right? If that's what you're saying at your time, this is not going to hold up very well, right? This is not going to be a very good trend line. We're looking for things that have been holding throughout the entire day, or we're looking for things that have been holding over the past week, or we're looking for things that have been holding over the past 1-2 days, right? So it all is about practice. Practice makes perfect. And not always practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You have to be able to figure these out the right way. So paper trade, study, just sit back, do mental trades, and just see if your trend lines are correct. And once you figure out your trend lines are correct, you are going to be extremely successful, because you're not always going to be able to nail every single one. But as long as you get in at the trend line and a stop loss right above it, guess what? You're going to have a massive reward. And if it breaks the trend line, you just take a little tiny loss. And then good to go. You're always going to be constantly winning. So that is what it's all about when trading these trend lines. Let's just take a look at one last time on what I mean by that last thing I just talked about. If you want to be a trader who wins more than you loses, because I know that probably 90% of people that are listening right now are probably a trader that ends up losing more than they win. Oh, Deck, I won today. I won $75. Oh, Deck, I lost today. I lost $800. Deck, I won today. I won $110. Deck, I lost today. I lost $2,000. Who here is a person that loses more than they win? Well, this is going to make that literally impossible as long as you follow it. So we know that we have what? We get a nice reversal as we hit here. We get a nice big drop. We get reversals as we hit here. We get a nice big drop. Our entry would be right here to go ahead and get a nice big drop. Look how much opportunity we can win. We can win $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. How much could we lose? Well, we're not going to allow that. We're going to place a stop loss right here. Place a stop loss right here. Place a stop loss right here. We know if this stock does keep on going and breaks this line, it's going to probably go up towards its next uptrend area or its next, area of resistance. So what you have to do is have limits to yourself. Hits this purple line, let me get filled. If it comes on up a little bit above that and we see that it's breaking, get out. So you're telling me I only can lose $200 if you follow this plan, and you can win $2,000. You could have a 10-to-1 risk to reward and be able to make massive amounts of cash. So that's how I'm able to do it. And I just consistently look to do this every single day. And that's how we're able to make these gains. So start practicing over lunch hours. Use your head. Lock it up, traders. You guys got this. Awesome job. Awesome work. And if